guys didn't get on your vacation.
Lisa, we have to move off of
Bye.
that topic. Okay, but we will plan to be with you and we have our order. Okay, so that's super. Oh, Chinese food for Christmas. I think that is so good.
Original.
Oh, no, on Thursday night on my posting, I asked for people to submit rabbinic explanations about Chinese food.
Is it in the Torah?
Some of my colleagues who have very strange minds do believe that they could find it there. So, okay. Rodney Barron, it is so good to see. I don't see you,
Yeah.
but you're there, and I am thrilled that you're there.
Well, I am glad to be here. And the only reason you don't see me is the cable, my camera cable on my computer is on the first, so I'm going to have to open it up when this is finished and take care of it.
Okay. But it's been a while, and it really is good to see you. So what do we have here? I have Barbara. Hi, Barbara, Cindy, and friend Merle, Arthur. Good to see you, Larry.
Hi.
Zax, Diane. Oh, it's like old home. Steve, Rebecca. Hi. Rabbi Doctor, a pleasure. How are you? Tufan, you know you cannot stay on this for an entire hour without at least one of your kids. So that's a rule. Okay. Sue Costa, hi. Gary, hello. Maya, you look great this morning. That's terrific. And Lindley, you look great too. I mean, you look great too. Mara, Eric, are you in Florida or New York?
I'm in Florida, but it's cold. It's 51. I got to put my winter coat back on. But at least I don't have the ice and the snow like in New York and everything like that. And guess what? I'm going to drive to Tamarack, Florida if I feel that lazy and not too dark. I'm going to the Chinese buffet in Tamarack called King's in Tamarack, Florida.
I that's a universal thing. I have another daughter who, because she lacks a lot of intelligence, flew from New York last night to Florida so she can see the Dolphins game on Sunday in the rain and the cold. But that you definitely need college, you need master degrees. And
thank you very much for recognizing me, Uncle Stanley.
It's a pleasure. Lisa's gone.
This is therapy for me. I'm a solo ager, and all my house guests are left for the year, and I'm all alone, and you are keeping me company and my mind stimulated. Capiche?
I have to tell you honestly, it's quite reciprocal. And this whole group keeps me going as well as I can go. Howard is there. Shabbat Shalom. I
just do the central Mishkan this morning. Then I fly to you. Then that's my bi-coastal experience. Thank you very much. And live long and prosper, as Spock says.
Yeah, live long and prosper. Right, I got that. Kevin.
Where is my thing?
Kevin is on phone. Hi, Kevin. Rodney.
Hi there.
Sue, Donna, Ray. This is exciting. Okay. I have Ray. I have Karen, Joy. Hi, Joy. Effie and Marina. Okay, well, that's certainly a lovely group. Okay. This is now a word from our sponsor. And it's an important word. I was asked to remind Chevra Torah That's better too, Fun. That's much better. I was asked to remind Chevra Torah that ours is a safe place. And by that I mean that we respect and care for each other. There was a brief event that occurred last week that was troubling. And so without going into detail, I just want to say, please, let's be as fabulous as we always are and always respect each other. I tried to find a term that would describe my role in all of this. And I couldn't find the right word. When I got to ringmaster, I figured that was really a bad, model. So we'll drop that. But whatever, okay? Let's be loving, let's be respectful, and do that. Okay, current events. Wednesday, December 28th at noon. There is 350 rabbis just signed a letter declaring that there are certain members of the new Israeli government that they will not welcome into their congregations. They signed that and put it out in the press. And they meant Ben Gvir and Smotrich and this guy whose name I will never remember, who is with Noam, the anti-LGBTQ plus group.
Is that Ma'oz?
Pardon?
Is that Ma'oz?
Yes. But I have a very serious mental block against learning his name. I think it's because I hear his name and I can only think of hateful. And so I prefer not to think of it. What?
Begins with a mem.
Ma'oz, we got it.
Oh.
We got it. Thanks, Reese. Actually, Steve Miller. Okay. So
Isn't that public shaming?
Pardon?
Isn't that public shaming,
Who just said that?
Mara?
Oh, okay. That is a hell of a good comment. And boy, that would be worth an hour, which we're not going to take, to explore your question. Actually, it isn't a question, it's an assertion, but it was phrased as a question. That's very good. Yeah, and I'm going to probably end up with a short statement and move on, that every once in a while, public shaming is totally called for, from my perspective. Okay, and well, you're nodding, thank God I walked out of that one unscathed. Yeah, we'll leave it, but thank you for the question. It's Jewish. The question is Jewish. And my response is peevish. And I'm going to stick with that. Okay, Cindy, you had a fabulous Hanukkah thing this past week. How do I know it's fabulous?
Because Risa was there.
Because Risa was there and told me. So anything coming up now?
I just need to say something. We had 30 no-shows. Just want to tell people, if you sign up for something, please let the host know. Our Eventbrite, you can cancel. We bought donuts. We had seat sitting for people. We have to pay for each reservation. And I know second day Rosh Hashanah, 300 people signed up. They bought lunch for everyone and 100 showed up. So just please, when you know you're not going to come, let the host know. But we do have some armchair adventures. We have our dinner at Froman's the end of each month on Shabbat. We have our happy hour coming. So If you're interested, just let me know and we'll make sure you get the information.
Thank you. I'm in such a good mood today that I have to say the good part of 30 no-shows is that I ended up with a little box of sufganiyot, of donuts, okay?
Yeah, we had a lot of leftover donuts.
I would not have gotten them if there weren't no-shows.
Did you notice the Jewish stars on them?
Yes.
That cost us 20 cents extra per dozen.
Okay. Anyway, it was a great program, and I'm going to leave it there. Jim is not on. I don't know. I'm not aware of film. Maybe he'll come on. Okay. I just managed to get myself invited to a family Christmas dinner. I mean, that's really nice. Genesis 41:33, page 270 in the Plow, 238 in the WRJ commentary. Genesis 41:33. And I have to go to 270 in the Plow. Okay.
41:33.
Yeah, 270 in the plot, 41:33. Okay. Now here's the. Do you know how impressive it is to look at all of you just gathered to study Torah? I'm sorry, I'm drunk with happiness. And I haven't even had my coffee yet. So here we have Joseph, who has interpreted Pharaoh's dreams. You remember the dreams, right? And the Pharaoh's dreams led Joseph to be brought up out of the prison. And he interpreted the dreams about 7 good years and a famine and so forth. And now, here's the instruction. 33. Let Pharaoh now select a man who was discerning and wise, and set him over the land of Egypt. A man who is Navon v'chacham, and set him over the land of Egypt. I think it is perfectly fair to say, should we translate that as a person? Could it be translated a person and not a man? Yes. But that's not what he was saying. He was saying, I don't know, because they had women pharaohs. So find a person who is discerning. Boy, I think I'm going to hold with that. Yes, they had women pharaohs, and maybe it could be a person and not a man. So I'm going to change the translation.
Mine says someone.
Yeah, find someone, a person. Okay. The rabbis were trying to figure out Navon v'chacham. They want to, isn't this redundant? Navon v'chacham, a person who is discerning, Navon, Bina, his understanding, and Chacham, wise. It's the same thing. And the rabbis come up with, no, this is practical wisdom. And the rabbis will talk about, there are lots of people in the world who are smart, but who don't have common sense. You can't take their smarts and make it operate in the world. So the rabbis chose to use this occasion to say, Navon v'chacham, choose somebody who not only will be able to write a 73-page analysis of what needs to be done, but someone who can then implement the analysis. Okay? And I like that. I think that's a very nice thing. Find someone who has practical wisdom. Okay? And Ya'aseh Pharaoh v'yafked p'kidim al ha'aretz v'chimesh et eretz Mitzrayim b'sheva shnei hasama. And let Pharaoh work it out, and Pharaoh should appoint p'kidim. It says administrators. Okay. Over the land. Wait. Some of the translations, tell me if you have any, say overseers.
I do.
Okay. Can you please tell me the choice of the translation overseer as opposed to the translation administrator?
I have appointees.
I'm sorry?
Appointees.
That's altogether bland. Right? Why am I, like really actively displeased with the older translation which says overseers?
Because it hints at the slavery we endure later.
Exactly correct. The term overseer here is really, it's overladen with emotional content. Overseer, appoint overseers is like, not a good thing. No, not a good thing.
Rabbi, I have a question though.
Okay, but the Hebrew, may I just say, doesn't call for overseers. It doesn't. In modern Israeli Hebrew, a pakid is an administrator, somebody who sits in an office and moves things around. That's what a pakid is. Okay.
Office
Rabbi,
Yes, you and Eric.
how did Joseph, the spoiled brat with no common sense in how he interacts with his family, get described as discerning and wise just because he was able to translate a dream?
I actually know the answer to that. While Joseph was in prison, he took an undergraduate course in literature. I tell you, I'm in a good mood, and I apologize.
It just doesn't sound like a description of the Joseph we've had up till now.
I get that. And you know that I can't answer it, okay? I don't know how he gained the language. Now, von v'chacham, by the way, is not a rare usage. That's a phrase. Navon v'chacham. It's not invented. But yeah, it sounds sophisticated. And okay, I can't go beyond that. But I'm happy with he took an extension course in prison. Okay, Eric, and then Effie.
Hello. Oh, I had it when I got older. I was a trustee for my father. Then I needed a trustee for myself. Having none, I called my cousin, who has a son-in-law as an accountant. So I had them do my trust, and they oversee my money, so I don't get scammed or fooled, because I am on the autism spectrum, and my autism spectrum had a little interest called elder planning. So you have to have a person who you can trust to take care of you when you get incapacitated or injured. Because I did that for my father, and I had the dream that I was in bed and I couldn't get up, and I had no one to call and help me take care of my physical being and my mental being. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And by the way,
he was a trustee. He was a trustee. So if something goes amiss, they can fire the trustee, and Pharaoh will be looking like a champ. But if the trustee makes a mistake, blame the Jew. Thank you.
You're good. You're right. And by the way, for all of us, no one else on this call, but other people who are growing really old, having someone available as a trustee is really useful. Very, very useful. And in fact, we have that already structured into our life. So that's there. Effie?
Hope I did good. Thank you.
Effie?
Yes. A lot of people who go to prison, while they're in prison, change because they don't want to go to prison again or whatever, but they change their outlook on life. So that's not uncommon.
No, I totally agree with you. Some people really do take advantage of the opportunity. What's her name? I'm blanking. The woman who does all the fancy setting of the tables and the fancy.
Martha Stewart.
Martha Stewart. I mean, she did fine after her little stint in prison. She's still doing fine. Okay, Larry?
Well, in addition to what Effie says, which I agree with, you know, this is Joseph sort of describing himself as discerning and wise, right? And he's doing it in order to get from Pharaoh what he wasn't able to get from his brothers, which is, you know, a leadership position and respect. And so this could be Joseph just being Joseph.
Yeah, sort of like if we're sitting around a big table and we're looking for someone to take a job, and I would raise my hand, you know, I think the job calls for someone who's about 6'3" and maybe 83 years old. And, you know, you go on like that. Oh, you're describing yourself. And Larry, yes. I mean, this is a setup by Joseph. He's smart, he's manipulative. And remember, from his youth, he always had his eyes set on the top spot. He was going for the golden ring. Yes, totally correct. Thank you for that. Okay, so we're going to go on. Let Pharaoh find put administrators. Now, this next thing creates a problem. It's just nice, simple Hebrew, and it creates a problem. And it says, let him take 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt during the years of plenty. The word chimesh is a wonderful word, and it has multiple meanings, and it's happily confusing every time it appears. In the Torah, when the Torah text speaks of the Israelites were chamushim, they were militarily prepared. Chamushim, armed and ready. That's chamushim. Okay? The same word, chamesh, means 5. Okay? And now they took chamesh and made it into a verb. Chimesh. So something is going to be divided by 20%. The chimesh at Eretz Mitzrayim. So what does that mean? Let him take 1/5. Okay, it could be Pharaoh should take possession of 20% of the land and therefore reserve and save and store the produce from that land for the 7 years of famine. Maybe that's what it means. But chimesh is such a wonderful example of how we can interpret and translate the words of Torah without absolute certainty. There are questions, the things are not totally clear. Steve, what does yours say?
It just says he shall prepare the land during the years of abundance.
It doesn't even mention 20% or 1/5 or anything.
Correct. It just has for he may prepare. He shall prepare. It's
Okay, so that translation, Steve, is from the one that's military preparedness.
Right.
Chimesh, okay, prepare the land, get it structured and set up. That's one possibility. The 20% makes sense. Okay, I see Merle. And then
yeah, I have a question with regard to what Steve just said. And when our daughter was living in Israel, it was the 7-year thing where you don't, do anything with the land or so preparing the land, if there's a famine during that time that you're supposed to be preparing the land, a famine meaning, in my mind, meaning the ground, everything is barren. How do you prepare the land? Okay. And that's a fair question. What happens during the sabbatical year, which is what you're talking about? If during that year, nothing's growing, there's nothing preparable, so to speak. There's nothing there.
Okay, I'm not able to give you a solid answer on that. I know
Okay.
that during the 7th year, you're not supposed to harvest anything you eat, what grows of itself,
Right.
and that's what you do. Tamara, is what happens if there's a total famine in that year? You don't have anything for yourself that year, and they're supposed to have leftover until the new crop comes in. What do they do?
I have no idea, and they don't talk about it. But that's very different from what's here, because here it's only referring to 7 prosperous years. So the preparation or the collection of a 5th from guaranteed income, if you will. So those are two very different
Right.
situations.
And I think it's fun to point out also, Merle, that certain numbers remain powerfully important. 7
Right.
doesn't mean just Shabbos and sabbatical year and 7 sevens leading to a jubilee and all other kinds of things. 7 is one of the magical numbers, and it comes up here. But your question is interesting, and I will have to leave it like that.
Okay.
I don't know. Famine is rough. Remember, that's why Jacob sent his sons down to Egypt. The only way, there's an answer. The only way they could deal with famine in the land was to go out and import. And, in an ordinary course of human events, maybe that's what they did. If there was a famine in the sabbatical year, they'd have to go out and import. They'd have no choice. Or you do know that in the course of the movement of peoples across the Middle East, famine is one of those reasons why people moved out of their native land. And it might very well be that one response to the reality of famine is migration. I just thought of that. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. But not only that, it's probably valid just by accident, of course. Sukasa and then Howard.
Okay, I was just going to say that in my translation, when it talks about, you mentioned the fact that guard and what was the other word that it could be?
Pakid is an chamesh?
Yes.
Okay, so it could mean armed and prepared for battle.
Armed and prepared. Mine says at the end of chapter 35 that the excess grain should be put under guard. So that's sort of like mention that is a military reference. So it kind of is consistent.
Okay, on the one hand, your teacher hereby criticizes you for going ahead and looking at other material. Second thing is that it's a really good point. That's fun. It has to be guarded, and maybe Hamish put the country under military administration so that they have no trouble gathering up the produce. Maybe. That's really cool. That's very good. Thank you. Howard.
Robert Alford uses the word muster the land in the 7 years of plenty in the sense of mobilize.
That's the chamush, that's chamushim. That's the same, that's the play.
That seems to me to make it makes the most sense in context. Or at least it makes a lot of sense in context.
It makes a lot of sense, but okay, I
prepare the land.
I really like what Sukasa did. You point to the same thing. And I would say that in the ordinary case of human events, if you try to take a whole bunch of the produce from the farmers who are very happy right now, and they're getting good stuff coming off the fields, and you're saying, we, the government, we're going to take it from you, take a percentage from you because there's going to be a famine in 3 years. What kind of look would you get from the farmers? And maybe resistance, and maybe muster, maybe militarily prepared. I'm perfectly willing to say that is a fun, interesting alternative reading, which stands. I think it stands. Steve?
My commentary as to that point says that Joseph suggested two things, both that Pharaoh actually pay for the fifth of the grain, which is different, or alternatively that it's merely a doubling of the tax from a tenth to a fifth to accommodate the accumulation of the grain.
An add-on text. Yeah, thank you. We're not going to be able to solve this. There is going to be a preparation. I think it's fun that the Hebrew opened up the conversation. Okay, the Hebrew Chet Mem Shin opens up. Is it a 20th? Is it military preparedness? Is it mustering? Is it military forces to help administer this? All of that works. Donna?
Oh, good morning. Good Shabbos. I was just thinking, dreams and visions and God talking to Joseph. People need to really look at what's going on around them and not be offended if someone comes up and says, there's going to be a famine. Well, thank you for thinking ahead. We need to prepare. Thank you for saving our lives.
Yeah, you'd want to believe that, but I'm afraid, I don't know, being a farmer is a really tough thing. You're totally dependent on weather, on locusts, on who knows, God knows what. And even during military interventions, the enemy would come in and burn fields. I mean, you have all kinds of things that could happen. And the farmer is looking at a bountiful harvest, and the ruler says, okay, we're taking 20%, we'll pay you whatever, and we're going to be storing it away because a famine is coming. Yeah, I
understand. Thank you, Rabbi.
I think people might, what is the good language that I learned in prison? Oh yes, take umbrage at that kind of a thing. We're going to move on, but let's see how we're talking. Okay, is everyone good?
We're good.
Okay, all right, good. So let Pharaoh appoint administrators over the land and get ready. I'm going to leave it there for 7 years of plenty. Okay, Penina.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. First of all, I think the whole idea was the storage, to store the stuff, period. They are not talking about necessarily who is going to do it. The idea of preparing is to store whatever came in abundance, so they'll have enough to feed everybody later on when the years were. That's why he said 7 years of plenty and seven cows, and it's just preparedness. That's the whole idea. That's where the wiseness of Joseph expressed itself, of telling him of what's going to come and be prepared.
There's the Navon v'Chacham.
Exactly.
Okay. But I'm going to give you another one. You're right.
What can I just finish?
Finish.
A lot of times, okay, I'm reading now a book by Albright, and he says that a lot of times to understand what happened is by looking at the results. If what was the results of whatever it is that was happening, you understood what kind of action was taken. So the fact that the brothers came down there and he had the stuff to give it to them later on, that shows that they were prepared. They had it, even though there was a famine in Israel or wherever it is that they came from Goshen. So he was smart enough that the dream that he interpreted, that was the dream of what's to come and be prepared. And the fact of the storage was the way of his cleverness or with his insights. That's the only thing that I can understand it now, that you look at the results. And as far as the leap year, the one that you leave alone, what they do, they still plow the land. They don't plant, but they plow it. And the reason is because there is certain minerals or after
nutrients, yes.
things that when you use it a lot, the land becomes poor. It doesn't have enough nutrient for the new crop. So that's why they let it sit for a year, but they do plow it. So
Okay, we're gonna move forward.
It will give it air or whatever you want it.
Nina, we're gonna move forward, okay?
Nourish itself. Yeah.
And I think that the other piece I would add, storage is certainly important, and forgive me for being a cynical analyst of human nature. You're gonna have 7 years of stored lots of crops. You're gonna have corruption too, forgive me.
But this is looking at that in a negative way. I'm looking at what was positive that came out of this whole thing.
Okay,
They
Penina.
stored and they had it. That's it.
Penina, okay, I think that okay, I am negative, but I would say that if you have many storage places all across the country, you're going to have corruption and you're going to have all kinds of things. And this is why it really is complicated. And this is why government is needed. And this is why, anyway, this is why government is needed.
The story showed good results. That's the main thing.
Penina, must speak. Toda.
No negative.
Okay. Have them
I
gather.
like 70. Excuse me for interrupting, Rabbi, but I'm
No,
70.
no interrupting.
Seven's a good
Don't
number.
interrupt.
Folks, let's get back under control.
Yes. Seven's a good number.
Ah, let's think of having dreams of Chinese food, like popping in your heads. Have them
I'm
gather
dreaming
up,
of something else.
okay, have them gather up all the food from the good years, and let them store up the grain in cities under Pharaoh's control. Vayikbetzu it call ochel hashanim hatovot ha'ba'ot ha'ela, and gather up all the food from the coming good years. Vayitzberu bar tachat yad Pharaoh, and let them be stored up. Bar corn, but it's let all the grain be stored up under Pharaoh's control. I don't think that's a throwaway verse. Under Pharaoh's control, and that goes to my adherence to the possibility of corruption. Pharaoh must control this. If you're going to depend upon the goodwill and the honesty and the integrity of all the people of Egypt, you may be a little disappointed. Let there be control, let there be structure, and it'll be then available. And under the control of Pharaoh, ochel be'arim v'shamaru. Have them gathered. It's interesting. You want the grain gathered in cities. I try to think about whether that was important, but I didn't come up with anything. Gather the grain in the cities, v'shamaru, and let it be kept, let it be guarded, let it be protected. Because in my world, corruption, stealing, the farmers not doing what they ought to be doing, you got to have a tight administration, and that'll work. Okay, we got some Harv.
Yeah,
And then Kevin,
I think Joseph or whoever's running the program allowed for corruption, because if you take 20% each year for 7 years, you have more than a year stored up. You have 140% of a year. So if you wanted to just cover 1 year of famine, you would just put aside maybe 15%. So by putting aside 20%, you more than covered what you need, plus you've allowed for maybe 40% corruption.
Okay, you blew me and my mind short-circuited. Okay, I don't do this. Let me try to go with you, and you're going to instruct me.
Okay.
Taking 20% of the produce for 7 years, so that they then can have ample produce for the 7 years of famine.
7 years of famine or 1 year of famine?
7.
7.
Well, then 20% isn't going to get you there.
Okay, you shifted ground from too much to too little.
Yeah, it's too little.
Okay,
Because if you're going to, unless you have some bumper crops where you can just put aside only 20%, and that'll last you each year, 20% of your crop is enough for a year. That's what I'm asking.
well, I mean, that would be the assumption, right? 20% of the crop for 1 year times 7 should cover the needs. Tamara, please.
Yeah, it doesn't say that there will be no food whatsoever for the lean 7 years. It only says these are going to be lean years. So there isn't going to be the usual 100%. So this is supplemental income, if you will, to make sure people won't starve. But it's not the entire food that they will consume. Presumably, they will get 30% of what they used to get, plus 20, it's 50. Everybody will get skinny, but they'll survive.
I think that's good in the sense that there also might be a required tightening of the belts. You're going to have food. It may not be as ample as what you had during the 7 years of abundance, but this way we're going to live. You're going to feed your kids. I'm looking at Tufan's son. You're going to feed your kids and we'll survive this. So it may not, I guess the answer, Harv, is we're not looking at full equivalency that the 20% is going to then produce abundance for the next 7 years, but sustenance for the next 7 years. Okay? And that's good. I think that's great. Kevin?
Okay, so I just want to point out that it's 7 years of abundance. It's not just 7 years of, regular
crops,
regular crops.
Right.
So when you have abundance, you're going to have a lot of waste. You're going to have, a lot of rot. So this is actually taking care of all of the extra stuff that's being produced, which could cause catastrophes if you have too much laying around.
Yeah, you raise another question, Kevin, to which I do not have an answer. Can you store 7 years of grain and have it stay non-moldy, non-spoiled in the 8th year, the 9th year, the 10th year?
With proper environmental controls.
Yes, so it has to be done well or prepared well.
But I'm cycle it through.
I just think about that, about having this grain, and I don't know what kind of storage facilities they would have had a few thousand years ago, but can you really store 7 years worth of grain and have it still come out edible? I don't have an answer. It just, I worry about things like this. I don't know.
But it's at least taking it away from the birds that would come and migrate and have too many birds, or you think of the locust, or
rodents,
just things that would come around the city if you have too much of abundance and that's just left out in the city.
Unfortunately, my mind is a very broken vessel.
Starting measurement. Please remain still and quiet.
Pulled up an image of granaries into which people have accidentally fallen. And those things can be incredibly dangerous. People die in them every year. They slip, they fall, they die. So you have to be careful. Okay, Kevin, that's a good point. Thank you for that.
Arthur has his hand up.
Yes.
Arthur.
We should not be so critical to pinpoint these numbers. We should look at this in a general format and get the idea. not pinpoint the percentage of what to save and what to spend, or how much on the female time we will grow. This is a perception of the idea and see the picture. That's all.
Got it. Got it. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here because this is clear. Pharaoh then issues the command, the advice seemed good to Pharaoh and his officials, verse 37 and 38. And Pharaoh said to his officials, is there anyone like this to be found, a man with the spirit of God, Ruach Elohim, in him? This is not a benign, nice yarmulke. This is not a benign comment by Pharaoh. At least I don't read it that way. Is there anyone like this? Pharaoh is looking at Joseph. When he looks at Joseph, who and what does he see? Sukasa.
Well, what I'm wondering is Pharaoh doesn't believe in God. So why would he say, is there anyone like him to be found, a man with the spirit of God in him? Why would he say that when they're pagans?
First of all, they're not pagans. They have many gods.
Okay.
They believe in loads of gods. And their best god is the one that looks like a cat, but that's a personal thing. But they have that. But I'm asking the question, Pharaoh is looking at Joseph. What does he see?
May I answer? May I answer?
I'm sorry. Okay, so Donna?
No, yes. I think he sees an anointing, a radiance about him, a stature about him, a power in his voice that he had never seen before.
Okay. Arthur.
He's looking as a Messiah to come.
Without the language, okay? Someone who's going to save the country. Howard.
Oh, the text seems to say that Sarah might say that Pharaoh has become a monotheist since he's talking about the spirit of God. But actually, it's Elohim, so it means the spirit of the gods.
It could be a plural word. Answer, yes. Yes, Howard. It could be a plural word. Who is in front of Pharaoh? A Jew. An alien. A foreigner. Pharaoh isn't going to say, this guy Joseph, I'm going to make him second to me, and that's just cool. Let me do that. I read Pharaoh as looking at Joseph and saying, he could be good, but I better get buy-in from my advising staff before I announce it. I read verse 38 as a major example of CYA. Cover your behind. That Pharaoh would like to appoint Joseph, but before, so he goes, oh, boy, that's a great description. Hey, guys, or people in front of me, do you know anybody like this? Let the suggestion, have you ever done that running a meeting? Let the suggestion come from the body. And then, Pharaoh can say, well, if that's the way you feel, I can do that. And then the responsibility for choosing the alien, the Jew, the stranger, the prisoner. It's the responsibility is spread around. And if you are an effective ruler, here is Stanley Davids' guide to becoming an autocrat. If you are an effective ruler, you will find ways to have other people bear responsibility, even though you're running the show. That's a very important trait. So if the war in Ukraine is not going well, Putin is not going to say, folks, it's on me. He's not going to say that. He's going to fire the general. He's going to fire this. He's going to do that. He's not going to, Pharaoh's not going to do it either. You think I'm going to be the first one to say, let's get this foreign Jew prisoner person and give him all the power of the land? By the way, folks, he's going to have power over you. That's all. Donna, what do you have?
I was gonna say that the power of your voice is important. If God wants to use your voice and make things happen, he's gonna do it. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, and I wanted to share real quick something that's pertinent to that. I was watching the news coverage for Hurricane Ian, and it's pertinent. And I said, God, sabotage Putin's pipeline. And the news broke through that someone had done that and they didn't know who. I go, thank you, Adonai. And I went, oh my God, I said that. And it happened. Rabbi said, Nana says, be very careful what you speak. But when you start speaking things, they start happening. It's like, why me? Like they put a fence up over here. I go, I called City Hall. They need to put a fence. And it came up. And I said, they need to tear down that toilet where the kids OD. Then the bulldozer was there 5 days later. I didn't call anybody. I don't know what.
Okay, we got it. We got the point.
It's not about me, Rabbi.
Pardon?
Not about me.
I know that.
Okay.
I know it's not about you, but
no.
We have the point. How? Where is this voice of God, and how do people speak? When people speak, they could be speaking the word of God, even though they don't know it. Even though they don't know it. Okay, Panina.
Thank you, Rabbi.
He had an experience that he had the dreams while he was in jail. And whatever it is that he interpreted, those dreams came true. So there was already an experience there that he was proven right when he said that one of the people that was serving the king is going to die because he's going to be found really guilty. And the other one was saved. And that's the way Joseph maybe heard them talking, maybe who knows why and how, but whatever he predicted came true. So it wasn't something that Pharaoh saw him the first time. He already interpreted dreams before when he was in jail and it came true. So he knew that he can, or he thought that he can trust him and his predictions. That's why he decided to take his suggestion regarding the wheat, because it was already the second time that he was listening to whatever this guy said that's going to happen.
I am going to do something unforgivable because this stuff is really rich. Every line is filled with, it's so much more complicated than a fast reading would ever give us. When you get to verse 41, and forgive me, I'm pointing out that I'm skipping good stuff. There's a strange phrase here, and that's what's always provocative. Vayomer Paro Yosef, Re'eh, Natati otcha al kol Eretz Mitzrayim. Pharaoh said to Joseph, Re'eh, that's the key word, I have placed you in charge of the entire land of Egypt. I got stopped by the word Re'eh, and I know I skipped ahead and we skipped other good things. It's a strange word.
He saw that he had the ability of foreseeing things.
Wait, please. It's a strange word. Pharaoh is saying to Joseph, okay, man, I'm appointing you second in command of Egypt, second only to the throne. Fine. Why did he say Re'eh? Re'eh comes from Ro'eh, see, Ro'eh, see, observe, take note. That's such an empty thing to say. Joseph is standing in front of him. And what is Pharaoh saying? Oh, by the way, Joseph, did you notice? I just made you second in command of all of Egypt. Strange.
It's the ability to
Strange.
foresee what could
Penina,
happen.
Penina, אני מבקש.
Okay. It's
The-
very simple.
I am very simple. That's part of my problem.
No.
The commentaries look at the word re'eh and turn it around to think about it. Think about it. I'm offering you a job. Think about it. Re'eh doesn't mean think, it means see, observe, take note. Joseph, I am about to make you second in command. Did anyone ever get a job offer which sounded good, but you had to pull back and say, before I say yes, I've got to figure out what I'm getting into? And I think the rabbis, the commentators, want us to read this verse. Pharaoh is saying, okay, this is your big moment, Joseph. You're on the world stage. Re'eh, before you say yes, look at what it's going to mean.
That's a good one.
Oh, thank you.
That's important.
But anyone who has gotten a job offer, something you might want, or let's use an example, anyone who's been accepted to several universities and has to make a choice.
Never got to go to school.
Look at it. Think about it. What do we say? Look before you leap. Think about it. And I think what Pharaoh, at least the rabbi said, what Pharaoh is saying here is, Joseph, watch out. You're going to get a job that could kill you. And I mean that literally. And I mean that literally. Steve, last comment, and we're going to have to move to Kaddish.
Well, I was going to say the reason he says that is he's telling Joe, I mean, and this ties into what you're saying eventually, but he's saying, okay, I heard you, I believe you, and because of that, this is what's happening to you. See, I've done it, I've heeded.
Okay.
Can I make a comment about the job that could kill
I
you?
am good.
I don't think so.
That Steve, in the sense that Pharaoh is saying to Joseph, this is your first success. You're advising Pharaoh, and I accepted your advice. Take note of this. Okay.
Good point.
But it's more than just, we can read this text and it's too simple. It's not simple. Okay, we are going to, folks, thank you. Okay. We have the names of those who have passed away during the past month. Rochelle Delgadillo, Charles Dolginger, Linda Friedman, Robert Katzke, Dorothy Koenig, Ezra Cohen, Moshe Jeffrey Shopson, Norman Siegel, Stanley Stogel, Elaine Wexler, Jacqueline Weinberg, Sidney Weinberg. And the following, the anniversaries of whose deaths have occurred during the past week: William Edelman, Don Adlin, Bella Adler, Albert Allen, Tyler Aronovitz, Anna Barbanel, Howard Bash, Ralph Binder, Ralph Binder, Alexander Braun, Katarina Braun, Betty Brody, Lena Berg, Emmanuel Burton, Conrado Asivudo Cardenas, Rona Corna, Benjamin Codd, Robert Cohn, Dora Cohn, Gussie Dancer, Morris Danziger, Penrose Desser, Sherry DeVries, Samuel Doro, Jenny Doro, Alan Eppenstein, Robert Farkas, E. Feinberg, Saul Feinstein, Jeffrey Feldman, Marion Fishman, Elizabeth Flesh, Harold Florence, David Foster, Rudolph Fox, Betty Frankel, Stuart Friedman, Richard Friend, Arthur Harold Gardner, Nejatola Godsian, Guilford Glazer, David Golad, Phyllis Goldklang, Richard Goldman, Minna Goldman, Mary Gordon, Henrietta Gorlick, William Gray, Joel Greenberg, Helene Hansen, William Heller, Daryl Hirsch, Louis Hyman, Ruth, Jameson Fine, Nita Carl, Philip Kent, Rachel Kassauer, Lenore Kramer, Burton Kurtzman, Marilyn Langsam, Aaron Lask, Charles Levison, Max Levine, William Lewis, Jack Lipson, Oscar Lozabnik, Mildred Marmer, Edgar Marks, Fritz Mayer, Zachary Meadow, Nathan Marin, Asher Meshtanian, David Meyer, Stanley Meyer, Lynn Sarah Miller, Kurt Randall Myers, Milans Nadjikov, Don Nathanson, Melissa Marins Neeler, Samuel Newman, Lillian Opper, Erna Ornstein, Jeanette Pastor, Herbert Polsky, Hannah Price, Hazel Quick, Boris Ratner, Philip Rouse, Lee Reinman, Robert Robbins, Meyer Rope, Stephanie Rosenblum, Dessa Ross, Marion Ruvelson, Jamie Lynn Schaefer, Irving Sidney Shulman, George Schuckman, Harry Siegel, Arnold Seidel, Martin Seiler, Leonard Schaefer, Benjamin Shapiro, Dorothy Silverstein, Saul Skolnick, Nathan Smook, David Sprung, Marion Steinberg, Rose Steinberg, Franco, Susan Turk, Faith Vigan, Sidney Wax, Leon Wachtman, Lisa Walder, Benjamin Barry Ward, Sam Weissman, Shalom Weitzman, Daniel Weeder, Sheila Bordeaux Wine, David Wolf, Bessie Wallner, Joshua Young, Merle Young, Murray Zachary, Joel Zucker. For those names that I mispronounced, I apologize and ask your forgiveness. If you have other names to be mentioned at this time, I ask that you please speak those names aloud or speak them in your hearts. We call to mind also the names of all those who died in defense of the United States, died in defense of the state of Israel, all those who have no one who will say Kaddish for them, all those who died through senseless acts of terror. We join now in Kaddish. Yitkadal, Zvitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'alma Ivra Chirute, V'amlich Malchute, B'chayechon Uvyomechon, Uv'chaye Dechol Eit Yisrael, Ba'agala Uvizman Kari V'yom Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah, Li'olam Li'olmei Almayim, Yitbarach V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar V'yitramam V'yitadar V'yitaleh V'yitalol Shemei D'Kudishah Le'ela Min Kol Yirkata V'shirata V'yitata V'yechamata Da'amiran V'yalma V'yimru Amen. Yehi Shlomo Rabbah V'yim Shemaya V'yim Aleinu V'yalkol Amen.
Amen.
Oseh Shalom Shalom Aleinu V'yalkol Yisrael. Amen. May God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace in our hearts, make peace in our homes, make peace in the household of Israel, make peace among all the families and nations of earth, and let us say, Amen.
Amen.
I know that I hadn't said hello to Barbara Dishler, and I don't want the day to pass without saying hello to Barbara. Hi, you looked very cold there for a while, Barbara. And folks, I thank you for your patience with me.
Pretty smile.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Sorry I was late.
Have a wonderful evening, a wonderful Shabbat and a Motzei Shabbat, and however you choose to observe this evening, do it with joy and with love. And
Chinese food.
We're having whatever our kids feed us.
Chag Sameach.
have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks.
Joy, thank you very much.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Merle.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
Stanley, tell Lisa hello.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I miss you already. Bye.
Bye, Risa.
Bye.